Hey guys, this is your March exam review. We were supposed to take this in March, but due to the snow, we are now taking this on April the 1st. So just follow along with me as we go through the problems. Be sure to take some notes. The scale factor of a picture frame to the actual frame is represented by the ratio 1:4. If the dimension of the scale drawings are 2 inches wide and 4.5 inches long, what is the actual area of the frame? Okay, so the first thing that I would do, I would take each of their measurements, which are the width and the length. I would take both of these numbers and multiply them times my scale factor of 4. So, for the first one, I would have 2 times 4, which is 8. So that would be my new width. Okay. And then I would take this 4.5 times 4 to get my new length. So 4.5 times 4 is 18. Okay, so there are your two new measurements. Now this question wants to know the actual area. Well, the area formula is just length times width. So we will multiply 18 times 8 to get our final answer of 144 square inches. Number 2 just says to solve for x, so we will use that distributive property to get rid of parentheses. 3 times x, 3x. 3 times 12, 36. Bring down our equals 120. From that, we'll get rid of our plain number by taking its opposite, so we should subtract 36 from both sides. We are left with 3x equals 84. Now that we're down to our one-step equation, we can then divide each side by 3, and we will have x is equal to 28. Final answer. Number 3 says, a jar contains 12 pink tokens, 20 purple tokens, 8 green tokens, 18 blue tokens. What is the probability of randomly selecting a blue token? Well, how many blues do we have? We have 18 blue out of how many total marbles? Well, if you add them all up, you will end up with 58 total, I'm saying marbles, and they're tokens. Okay, so 58 would be our denominator. Now, this is your answer, guys, but it must be simplified. I will use the number of 2. 2 goes into 18 9 times. 2 goes into 58 29 times. So your final answer would be 9 out of 29. For number 4, write an equivalent expression. This one would be a select all that apply. You would probably need 3 answers. So just make sure you're understanding that that negative can be placed on the top or numerator. It could also be placed in the denominator, such as the answer in the problem. We could also place it on the side of the fraction bar. So here are 3 different ways to write this expression. Or if you actually even simplified it, you would get -6, either way. Okay, for the number 5, we have a 2-step inequality. So the first step, let's go ahead and solve this. I would add 250 to both sides, and I would be left with 7x is greater than 364. Now, because I'm dividing by a positive number, I should not have to flip my inequality, and because my x is also on the left side, I should not have to fix or flip my inequality. So final answer, I got x is greater than 52. Now don't forget, if it has a line under it, such as greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, it would be closed. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the 2 choices with the closed circle just because of my inequality sample. Final answer would have to be letter A because that line is going in the direction that my inequality is pointing. All right, next we have number 6. Number 6 here is just an order of operations type math problem. What I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and convert these numbers using my backwards C method to a improper fraction. So if I convert that first, I get negative 13 over 4 divided by open parentheses, and I'm also going to use that backwards C method to convert here as well. And I would get negative 8 over 3 times this negative 4. All right, according to the order of operations, we are to do what is inside the parentheses first. So if I were to pull this out and show you my multiplication process, it would be negative 8 over 3 times a negative 4 over 1. Okay, and then we would multiply right there. And we would end up with 32 positive over 3. All right, so now I'm ready to just bring down everything out. So I'm left with my 13 negative over 4 divided by whatever I got when I did my parentheses, which was 32 over 3. Now I can do a keep it, change it, flip it. I'm left with negative 13 over 4 times 3 over 32. I get negative 39 over positive 128. And this is my final answer due to the fact it will not simplify anymore. All right, for number 7, what is the probability of picking an orange marble and flipping tails? Well, guys, this is a compound event because we are working with more than one event here. Let's get a fraction for the first set. We have these marbles, and we might count them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 marbles. Well, how many of those marbles are orange? 1 out of how many total marbles? 7. Remember, when you have a compound event, you multiply. Now, how many tails are on a nickel? 1 out of how many total sides? 2. So when we multiply this straight across, we should end up with 1 over 14 as our final answer. All right, let's now move on to number 8. Number 8 says, what is 6/15 written as a decimal? Well, that would be A. Number 9, we've seen this problem before. It just wants to know which tree diagram shows the possible outcomes. Don't forget, we use that counting fundamental process to help us here. Always locate my events. I have 2 types of ice cream. I have 3 types of toppings. So if I multiply 2 times 3, I end up with 6. So I need to pick a tree diagram that has 6 choices. So A and B are already out. I'm going to go ahead and circle C because I can see that vanilla here gets the fudge, the nuts, and the strawberries. And the chocolate gets the fudge, the nuts, and the strawberries. Over here, you don't need the 2 F's. You need to make sure each type of ice cream has all 3 toppings. All right, for number 10, 4 students factored the following expression. Which student shows the correct expression? All right, this would be student 1, and I will show you why. If we multiply to get rid of parentheses, 6 times 8, that's 48m. 6 times 3 is positive 18n. That would be the only expression that would match what was given. Okay, for number 11, it says that you have some results from a random sample of 250 students about after-school activities at the public school, and they're shown below. If there are a total of 500 students in the school, what is the best approximation of students that would prefer football? Okay, well, we need that theoretical probability first. So it's stated at the top that there were 78 that prefer football out of how many people that took the survey? 250. Then they would like to know how many would choose football out of 500. Well, we do not know how many would choose, but we do know how many we're surveying. And then we would use this butterfly method to get our answer. You would end up with x is equal to 156. All right, for part B, same situation, just this time they would like to know who would prefer basketball out of 800. Well, we would need to go back to the top and get the theoretical first. How many chose basketball out of the first survey? Hopefully you see that was 143. How many was surveyed? 250. Okay, now let's set up our second ratio. They want to know how many will choose basketball out of 800. We do not know, but we do know how many was surveyed. And again, we'll use that butterfly method to solve for x. And if you did your math correctly, you should come out with x is equal to 458. All right, let's move on to number 12. Number 12, again, is another order of operation type problem. So again, we need to begin with what's on the inside of parentheses. So I have 5.5 plus, and I'm going to go ahead and drop that one set there just for a distraction, and also because they put that negative. So again, I'm just dropping them because they are basically already simplified. Now, I must fix what was inside the bracket for this expression here. So let's start by saying 18 divide negative 3. If we start there, we end up with a negative 6. Okay? From this point, we still must follow the order of operations. We need to get rid of parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to bring down everything I have. And I'm going to go ahead and multiply this now. Negative 7 times negative 6 is positive 42. And from that point, you can type everything in your calculator and you would end up with letter C as your answer. Okay, number 13, which two-dimensional cross-section could result from slicing a right rectangular pyramid into two congruent pieces? Okay, well, if we have this right rectangular pyramid and we were to slice it, if we were to slice it horizontally, you would see it would not form two congruent pieces. But if we sliced it up and down vertically, hopefully you see that it forms this type of triangle. And lastly, a plumber cuts through a three-dimensional figure parallel to the base. Well, the only thing I could see that gives a circle would be a cylinder. Okay, for number 14, it says that we have a caterer that makes 8 pounds of party mix, consisting of peanuts and chocolate candies for an event. They gave you your following equation, and they are asking us exactly how many bags of chocolate candies does the caterer need to make. Well, guys, this is just a two-step equation. Let's just go ahead and solve for that letter X. So step 1, let's get rid of our plain number. The opposite of 8 is, the opposite of 4 is a minus 4. What I do to one side of the equal sign, I do to the other. So I'm left with 0.8b equals 4. Divide each side now by 0.8. And you should end up with the answer of 5. All right, for number 15, consider the table. Which statement about the relationship of the price to the number of cans of soda is true? Okay, well, let's see. If we were to divide these out, this is our unit rate, so we would use K equals Y divided by X. You would then see your answer would be C. And again, we divided that Y value by the X. All right, for number 16, what is the area of a circle? Well, here's your formula. Area equals pi times the radius squared. Don't forget, everybody, pi just equals 3.14. All right, so let's go plug in what we know. Area equals pi, which is 3.14, times my radius. Okay, well, I want to make sure that you understand that a whole line like this circle here is a diameter. But this needs a radius. So to get a radius, you would just divide by 2. So to get our radius, we would just say 12 divided by 2. Because what we're doing is basically just cutting it in half. And you would end up with 6. And from this point, we just multiply in our calculator. 3.14 times 6 times 6. And you would get answer choice C. All right, for number 17, a cyclist rode at a constant rate and completes 34.2 miles in 2.4 hours. Which equation represents the relationship between the number of hours h and the number of miles drawn? All right, what I like to do is miles per hour. So I will use division. My miles was 34.2. My hours was 2.4. If we were to divide this out, we would end up with an answer of 14.25. Okay. For number 18, it says which statements are true. Okay. First thing I like to do here, guys, is go ahead and find my own answer. So I'm not even going to read those answer choices just yet. I just want to know what my unit rate is from the graph. So they put dots on here for you, so that's very helpful. So what we're going to do is divide our y over our x to get the k. Our y is 30. Our x is 2. So 30 divided by 2, we get 15. So what that tells us is that it takes 1 month to save $15. So 1 month to save $15. All right, now that I have my own answer, I can go look for my answer choices even easier. So let's begin with A. The point 230 represents the fact that Miguel saves $2 in 30 months. Another thing I like to do, guys, is to make notes. My x-axis represents months, and my y-axis represents money. This is also an easier way to do this. So, if you're looking at your x value right here, he would be considered a 2. This 2 must represent months. So, does the 2 represent months? No. Therefore, this answer is wrong. Same thing here. This 2 must represent months. Does it? Yes, it does. Therefore, B would be an answer. Letter C. This 4 must represent months. Does the 4 represent months? Yes, it does. We will circle C. And let's move to C or D. 0, 0. The point 0, 0 represents Miguel saving $0 in 0 months. Well, guys, that is true as well. 0, 0 means no money, no months passed. Letter E. the 0.460. Let's talk about the 4. The 4 better represent months, right? Because our x-axis is months. So does the 4 represent months? No, it does not. Mark it out. The letter F, 1.5, must represent months. Does 1.5 represent months? No. So mark out F as well. All right, which expression is equivalent to 1.25x? I cannot pick A because A is good to go. He's in his most simplest form. I cannot pick B because I can't combine a whole number with a variable. Letter C is okay, but I can't do anything with him. Again, he's in his most simplest form. So it has to be D, but let's make sure we understand why. So there's actually an understood 1 with this x here. And because each of these have an x, that makes them like terms. So we can add 1x plus 0.25x, and that would give us 1.25x. So that's why it works. It matches. Number 20. Angles A and B are vertical angles. Okay, what is the measure of angle X? All right, something you need to know about vertical angles. Y'all, vertical angles are equal. So make sure you know vertical angles are equal. So when I write this down, I would set both of these angles equal to each other. Notice how it formed a nice two-step equation. From this point, we will just solve for the measure of x. So I'm left with 2x equals 56, and we'll divide each side, and I got x is equal to 28. But guys, it did not say what is the value of x. It says what is the measure of x. I'm going to leave it as 28, but because of the wording on this problem, I'm not too sure if they're wanting an x value or the measurement of angle A. It should say the measure of angle A if it wanted that angle, but just in case it does ask, we would then go plug in what we got for x to find that measure of angle A. And we got for x 28, so we would just go plug in for that letter x, 28. And then we would end up multiplying. 2 times 28, and we get 56. 56 plus 4 is 60. And again, this would be the answer for the measure of angle A if you were to need it.